Go for it.
Welcome to the C343 TLC experiment. I'm going to be showing you guys today how we perform TLC as a technique. So to begin with, what we do is prepare a TLC development chamber. I've already prepared one, but I'll show you guys the ins and outs of how I did it. So here is the TLC developing chamber. It has a screw-on lid and some markers. I took a piece of filter paper, I folded it in half into a semicircle, and then I carefully placed it into the bottom of the TLC development chamber. At that point, I added solvent carefully, the eluting solvent, until it reached half a centimeter above the bottom of the TLC development chamber. So now that my TLC developing chamber is prepared, I'm ready to create my TLC plate to be developed. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a line where I can spot my mixture solutions. And so I'm going to do that by taking the TLC plate and drawing a small line 1 centimeter above the bottom of the TLC plate. And I'm going to fill that out across the TLC plate. And I'm going to do this for both of my TLC plates because I need two. Now that that's done, so what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 spots on each plate because we have 4 samples that we need to test. And so I'm going to put small marks on each of the TLC plates that will inform me about the best place to put each of my spots. So I'm going to put a small X away from the side and away from each other on each TLC plate. And these will tell me where I can put my spots safely without them running into each other during the TLC development process. So now, what I have are solutions of each of the unknowns that I'll be testing, carefully labeled in test tubes. I only needed about a milliliter of each, so I carefully pipetted 1 milliliter of each solvent from their stocks into these test tubes and labeled them with a Sharpie. So one at a time, I'm going to take a TLC spotter, one of these small glass spotters that I prepared. I'm going to dip it into the solution. Now that I'm sure it has solution in it, I'm going to take it and press it the capillary down onto the X that I've created. And you can see a small amount of liquid was deposited onto the plate. I'm going to let that dry and then do that again so we have a good amount of sample on the plate. That looks good. So now for the next one, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Again, confirming if there's liquid in my capillary. And now I'm going to put the sample on the other X. Looks good. Now I've got 2 more samples, and they're going to go on to the next plate. Okay, both of my plates are prepared and they're ready to be developed inside the TLC developing chamber. So I'm going to start. To confirm that they are prepared, I'm going to check each of these plates under the UV lamp to make sure that I've placed substantial enough spots to create a signal under UV light. And when I look at this, I can see pretty clearly a purple spot on the left and a purple spot on the right. So I feel comfortable that each of these will develop well in the TLC chamber. And I'm going to check if this plate has enough sample on each spot that we can see it well under the TLC, under UV light. And as you can see, there's two distinct purple spots on each of the X's that I've created. This confirms to me that there's enough sample on the TLC plate to be developed properly. So now each of these samples are ready to be developed in the TLC developing chamber. So what I'm going to do is carefully open my TLC developing chambers. Grab the top of my plate with forceps and gently lower it into the developing chamber. Making sure that the solvent line doesn't go above the small line that I've created on the TLC plate. That being the case, I can close the TLC chamber very gently without disturbing the chamber itself, and just place the lid back onto the chamber. Plate is done developing. So I'm going to carefully grab it from the TLC chamber. I'm going to quickly mark where the top of the solvent front is. I'm going to draw that across the entire TLC plate. Now I'm going to let it dry for about a minute or two. TLC plate is done developing. So we're going to carefully remove it from the TLC developing chamber and quickly mark where the solvent front is. And we're going to finish this solvent front line across the entire TLC plate. Now I'm going to allow this to dry for about 2 minutes. Two different methods of visualizing the spots on the TLC plate. The first method we're going to use is an iodine chamber. And what we're going to do is we're going to place our TLC plate and place it in this chamber in the same fashion that we put it in the TLC developing chamber. And then we're going to close that up and let that work its magic for about 2 minutes. For the other plate, we're going to visualize it under UV light. So I'm going to take it over to my UV detector. Disregarding the ruler marks where we can clearly see our spots that of interest. And we're going to mark those with a pencil. So the right lane, we've got this spot here. And our left lane, we've got this spot here. So now that those are marked, we can see them clearly without UV light, which will allow us to measure their RF values. Iodine chamber is done developing. So I'm going to take that out. And what we can see here is one distinct spot on the right, and maybe this spot on the left, I would say. So now we've visualize the spots in two different fashions, using the iodine chamber and the UV lamp. And now that we've marked them clearly with pencil, we can measure their RF values with a ruler without using the UV lamp or iodine chamber again. So these marks will last as long as we need.